Welcome back. My name is Johan van die Kerk, and we are talking about the business formula. In our last video, I was talking about how do you build the structure of the house. We've spoken about the foundation, we've spoken about building the walls, and we've now spoken about building the roof of your business, securing it, making sure that it is safe from the elements. And we're continuing this series now by talking about finishing the house. What do you need to finish your business properly? How do you make it look nice, and how do you make it comfortable to live with? With the last videos, this is the fourth in the series. Remember to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell below to make sure that you don't miss any of this valuable and free content. There's also a link to our newsletter so that you might get even more valuable information for free below in the description. Good. Getting to this, what is the next step? What is the finishes of the house? Like I said, I'm a visual guy. I've spoken about the foundation, the walls, and the roof. Now we look at the finishes. What are the finishes? And finishes is actually controlling. And this is the element where most small businesses do not have much. They don't really understand what controlling means. Most big businesses have very large controlling departments. Most big businesses know everything that needs to be controlled and looked at. So this is essentially measuring the pulse of your business. And of course, the biggest thing, your heartbeat of your business is cash flow. That's the easiest thing to measure. That's still part of controlling, is the financial side. And that's generally the element that most small businesses at least have some of, is doing the financial controlling. But I am shocked very often to see how little small businesses know about their finances. They just know that they were able to pay the bills last night. But if you speak to somebody and you ask them, hey, what did your figures look like last year? What did your figures look like last month? What did your figures look like last week? They are not able to tell you that. And so very important here is, yes, the finances, but you need to really delve into the finances. How are you looking at them? What are you specifically measuring? Cash flow is king. We all know that. But you need to look at other elements. What are your expenses? Where is the money going out? I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's very, very easy to get into the subscription services that is offered today. Before you know it, you've got it's not just your cell phone that you're paying and the internet that you're paying. It's Netflix, it's this. Hey, I need it for the office as well. To entertain the clients. It doesn't matter. It becomes something very, very quickly where your expenses rack up, and before you know it, you are not making any money. So of course, finances, I'm not delving too deep into these things in this video. We have a lot to cover today, but you need to look at your finances. Very important. But over and above the finances that everybody sort of knows, what else are we looking at? What else do we have to understand? Management accounts is part of finances, but that's not something I see small businesses have. Important to know what your actual situation is currently. But also important, very important, is budgeting and planning. How do you project the year to be? How can you plan when you don't know what the year is going to be like? In the beginning of the year, I decided to order myself a new car. It was time. And you know what I did? I looked at my budgeting, I looked at my planning, and I decided that the right time to have that car is in September. Hey, awesome. That's planning. I knew what my cash flow was going to look like. Did I do better? Yes, I did do better. But that was the planning I had at the beginning of the year, that I wanted to be at a specific point where I could buy this vehicle. That was the main thing. Budgeting, planning for the future. Very important. Next thing that you have to also look at is your planning, not just for finances, but your actual, what is it actually versus what was the plan? So you have to do budget comparisons. You also have to do planning comparisons. What did you plan for the business to happen this year? Did you plan on having 10% growth, 20, 50% growth? And how are you measuring that? How are you measuring the planning versus where you are actually? When you're halfway through the year, are you checking how far you've come? These things need to be checked on. The other thing is, I spoke about process flow in the previous video, understanding that flow of processes. This is also where KPAs, key performance areas, and key performance indicators, KPIs, come from. You need to measure, you need to know your numbers, not just in the finances, but in the other things as well. We design KPAs and KPIs out of the process flow. When we know what the process flow looks like, we know what is important, the key performance areas, what needs to do well. When you are marketing, what's coming in? It's not just about the clicks and the views, it's also about the conversion rates. What are you measuring? Key performance areas. I need to know what these videos are doing. Are people liking this? I need to measure that. I need to look at the indicators. What are they? I need to design a measurement. Each business in that area is slightly different, but the principles remain the same. How do you identify? How do you measure? You need to delve into these things. Another thing that most people have heard of, but that small businesses don't generally look at, is CRM. Okay, customer relationship management systems. That is one of the easiest ways to replace an employee. We tend to quickly, when we start getting busy and when the money starts flowing, most small businesses are looking for support. They want to try and hire people. Hey, I'm a big fan. I told you that in the first video. I don't like hiring people before I hire technology. And the reason for that is that technology is more reliable than people. Technology generally doesn't get sick. Hey, every now and again, bad things happen. We know that technology also fails. But in general, technology is a lot more reliable than people. So we first look for technology that helps make you more efficient. And a CRM system is one of the easiest ways to do that. You need to keep track of your customers. You need to know what your customers are doing. You need to know where to spend your time with which customer. CRMs help you do that. CRMs help you manage your customers and your customer interactions as well. One of the most important systems you can get early on when you are building a business is to start off with looking at CRM systems. And there's a lot of great free ones out there. Later on in the series, we'll also start delving into a little bit of that, what to look out for in a CRM and a smaller business. More things that we have to start looking at is also meeting structures. How do you structure meetings? How do you structure meetings with clients? How do you structure meetings with staff, if you have any at that point in time? Meeting structures, it tends to, especially in small businesses, everybody wants to know everything. And quickly, a business meeting that can take 15 minutes becomes an hour and a half. And before you know it, you're spending so much time in meetings that you're not getting to work on your business. You need to design the meeting structures. You need to make sure what you are doing in those meetings. Also, this is when we start measuring the milestones. Remember in the very first foundation video that I spoke about milestones, I spoke about goals. Where are we going? We need to make sure that we are on track with that. What are our milestones? Are we meeting those milestones? And is it time to look at new milestones? Do we need to set new ones? Where are we going? What do we want to do with this? We also have to start looking at long-term planning. Most of you probably have done a little bit of short-term planning, but we need to start looking at longer-term planning as well. You can't do detailed long-term planning because we don't know what's happening in the world. Everything changes so fast. I've spoken about Wagner's Law, where technology doubles every 5 years. And in this case, yes, we don't know what's going to happen in the world 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but you can plan for where you want your business to be. And then the key is to make sure that you adapt and that you're adaptable for this fast-changing and fast-paced world. We've spoken about these things, management accounts. We've spoken about KPIs, CRM systems. One last thing here, liquidity planning. Cash flow, like I say, is king, but we also know that we sometimes have very large expenses. I spoke about ordering a new car a little bit earlier. Hey, that's a large expense for the business this year. I'm buying the car cash. It's going to take a chunk of money out of the business. I need to look at the liquidity when I want to do something like that. What am I cash flow positive enough that I can survive this large cash outflow? Sometimes you have to upgrade computers. You want to expand an office. You want to fit out a new office. You have to look at your liquidity, the things that take money out of your business. Now that we've discussed, that's the tiles and the finishes in this house, this visual house that I'm representing. And once we've done that, once we've completed the interior of the house, and once the finishes are nicely done and we're happy with the house, hey, we still can't live in the house comfortably unless we've furnished it. And so the furniture in the business is your marketing and your sales support. This is where things start becoming comfortable. You've put in a lot of hard work. You've done a lot of things. You've made the house pretty, but it's not livable yet. And this is where it truly becomes fun. It's not easy. Hey, I don't know about you guys. Me, I'm not the guy that knows all the color palettes and what always fits together in a house, but I know what fits together in a business. And this is where this business formula comes in. What we're looking at is, how do you finish this house? How do you make everything work? How do you make the business comfortable? And how do you start scaling? This is the beginning of moving from a small business into a medium-sized business. It's not the foundation yet, but this is where it starts. This is where we truly start pushing the business and growing. This is where we get to the $100,000 US dollars plus per year. This is when you're now really starting to push the boundaries and starting to grow. You figured out the unit level economics. You figured out how to secure your house against the storms. You figured out how to make your business resilient. Now we really want to get going. And the marketing and the sales side. I spoke in the first video about as well. What's the difference between marketing and sales? People don't always understand that. I like stories, so I like to tell these stories, and I'm always thinking, hey, when I go to buy a new product, I want to buy a new phone. I've made the decision on buying this phone at home already because I've learned to trust it. I've built a relationship with the company. I'm a keen fan of this specific product. And then I walk into the store, and as I walk into the store, the person walks up to me and says to me, "Good day, sir. How are you today? How may I help you?" And I say, "Hey, I am looking for..." And before I can say anything, this person shoves a product into my face and says, "Hey, today we've got a special on X product. Buy, 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 buy." I'm like, no, what are you doing? And I'm just like, no, I'm here for... No, you have to buy this. It's the best deal it's ever had. And this is what we do as small businesses. It's an extreme example because nobody does that, but we do it as small businesses. We shove our products and our services in people's faces, and we expect them to buy it based on because it's the best, because I'm loyal, because I'm this. No, I spoke a little bit earlier as well about selling the sizzle and not the steak. You have to sell the experience. You have to solve the problem. This is what marketing and sales is about. There's various different ways of doing this as well. I don't have too much time to go into it. In the future videos, I will delve deeper and deeper into this. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, which is in the link below, so that you don't miss anything. Again, when we go into it, the marketing side of things is we generally market for leads first. We need to get people interested in our service and our product. And again, there's multiple different ways of doing that. We have to run campaigns targeting very specific people, and you need to know how to design these campaigns. Campaigns is a storyline. If you follow your favorite series on, I don't know if it's a Netflix or Prime Video or whatever it might be. I don't watch a lot of TV these days. I don't have the time. But if you look at those series, they all follow a storyline. And so it's important to figure out how these things work. How do you put these storylines together? How do you tell a compelling story to your target market so that they would be there to remember you specifically when their problem pops up, and that they trust you so that you are the one to solve their problem? That comes down to the marketing for leads. Once you've acquired somebody, once somebody's interested in your product or service, interested in what your business has to offer, hey, then we enter into the sales cycle. We discuss this also much more in depth in the future videos, but that's essentially the big difference. Is first, you have to get people interested in your product. That's what most marketing is about, or should be about. You should be marketing to generate interest in your business. And then once the interest is generated, you need to put them into a funnel and how you lead them down to ultimately a sale. That's what we are focusing on. Now, how do you do this? There's a bunch of different elements. I'm not going to put them in order today because I want to get through all of this. I want to give you guys this value. I've mentioned positioning. How do you position your product? Who are you targeting? How do you stand in front of your client? How are you perceived? Framing, very, very important. Framing, I mentioned, that's one of the most important words in marketing, is how do you frame your service? How do you frame your product? How do you frame yourself? Are you quick, easy, cheap, and available to everybody? Or are you exclusive? Are you for a very specific exclusive market? Are you a luxury item? You have to frame it very, very clearly. And your marketing strategies, once you've defined all these things, you have to sit down and do the marketing strategies. How are you targeting them? How are you speaking to your specific client? I had some clients quite a while ago that one of their marketing strategies was they were property brokers, and they were quite sporty people, but on a Saturday, they would go out into the neighborhoods and they would walk around looking for people to talk to, but nobody wanted to talk to them. And when we started delving a little bit deeper, you need to understand where your client is, and you need to meet them where they're at. And what they were doing is they were walking around this neighborhood as a couple in their power suits, trying to talk to people that were busy in their yards, mowing their lawns, relaxing on a Saturday. Hey, complete disconnect with the client. And all we had to do in this specific marketing strategy is change what they wear. And because they were quite sporty people, because they run a lot, we changed them into their sport clothes. And when they then approached the homeowner and complimented them on the yards, the homeowners were happy to see them because they were outside sweaty, not in a professional setting. And so the idea was not to sell them in the moment, but to get them interested. And so when you meet your client where they're at, what happens is you get to open doors, and that is what opened the doors for them. Then they would set appointments during the week. They would ask the client if they've got such a beautiful home, would they be interested in selling? If not, do they know somebody? But in that sense, this is how you get forward. This is a marketing strategy. Sounds silly, but if you don't think about these things, they could not understand what they were doing wrong. And we figured out quite quickly, because we knew they where they needed to meet their client. Online presence, another big thing. We think online presence, oh, I'll be on social media and maybe a website. It's not just about that. You have to have a complete online presence and a strategy on how to be online. Which social media channels should you be on? Where do your clients hang out? Are you supposed to be on YouTube? Are you supposed to be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn? There are so many different ones, and in your specific country, there might be even more. In Germany, for example, Zing, that's a big one. For professional people, it's even bigger than LinkedIn. You need to decide where your clients are and where you are, and then you need to have a holistic strategy leading people through this journey of where to find you online. Lead magnets. You need to create lead magnets as well. Hey, what are you offering your clients so that they are willing to engage with you? What are your lead magnets? Funnels as well. I mentioned that quickly. How are you building your funnels? How do you lead the clients down the funnels? I also mentioned email marketing in a previous video. Is that still alive? Is this something that works? I'll tell you guys what. Email marketing is one of the best ways to sell people. It still works, but you need to be very, very strategic in this, because people inboxes are flooded. They are becoming very, very private about it. They just like their personal cell phone numbers. They do not want to give out the email addresses. So you need to know how to add enough value to them that they willingly provide you with emails. Same time, also content marketing. That's another strategy that you can do. How do you create content to create interest in your business, in who you are? Ads. Does it make sense to pay for it? Google ads, Facebook, Insta, wherever, but it doesn't make sense to pay. Most people throw money at it and hope for a result, and after 3 days they say it's not working. Hey, you have to be strategic. There has to be a campaign behind it. You have to be very, very clear about your strategy and where you are going for this. Another thing in this area as well that we forget, you actually need to set aside a fixed budget. How do you do that? Budget planning is so important, because otherwise what happens is, hey, I've got other things, the kid needs braces, this needs to happen there, and we take the money away from our small businesses. It's so important to set aside a correct budget specifically for sales and marketing to make sure that you go there. And one of the biggest mistakes I've seen small businesses also make is that the moment it starts getting a little bit tough, the first thing they cut is their marketing budget. Hey, that makes absolutely no sense. That's when you need to seriously spend, is when your cash flow is starting to drop, when your revenue drops. You need to push more money into marketing. Yeah, and then how do you measure all of this? Again, I spoke in the previous video a little bit about KPAs and KPIs. This is also very, very important here in this in the marketing and the sales strategies. You have to design those. You have to be aware of those. You have to know what you're measuring, because again, there's so many marketing companies out there that will sell you for big bucks, marketing campaigns and everything else. But if you are not aware of what's happening, hey man, you're just going to throw your money into the drain. Unfortunately, marketing companies are not always aware of what's going on. They don't know your customer that well. They don't know your business as well as you do, and they do the best job they possibly can. But they cannot do it if you are not very clear about what you are selling, what value you are bringing to the market, and what you want to tell your customers. You need to be very, very clear and very aware of this. Guys, this has been a quick summary again of the different elements of this business formula, of the system that I've figured out over the last 25 years. We've spoken about the overview in the first video, spoke about the foundation in the second video, we spoke about the business structure as such and cash flow in the second video, the walls and the roof of the house. And now in this video, we were talking about the finishes inside the house and then actually fitting it out so that you can build your business from yourself, who you are, your personal development level, your mindset, bringing that across into a startup, building that into a small business. And once you've done all of these elements, then you are ready to start growing this into a medium-sized business. And a medium-sized business is where true wealth are created. Small businesses, you're still self-employed. The moment you start building your business into a medium-sized business, that's where you are able to step out of your business, and your business should be able to function without you. We are going to continue the series, and we're going to start talking about that in the next video. How do you take what you've built now and use that as the foundation for building a medium-sized business? And the visual I'm going to use is essentially you've built this beautiful house. We compress that, and that becomes part of the foundation of a skyscraper. A medium-sized business is now building a skyscraper. And so again, I urge you guys, if this content has been valuable, make sure that you like, subscribe, and click the notification bell below to make sure that you don't miss any of this valuable content in the future.